Heavy rain starts falling, but this time it does not stop. Streets slowly disappear under rising water, drains fail, rivers overflow, and within hours, entire neighborhoods turn into lakes. Cars are trapped, homes are flooded, and normal life is suddenly interrupted. Flooding is not a new phenomenon. It has existed for as long as rivers and rain have existed. But what is changing is the frequency, the intensity, and the scale. Floods today are becoming more unpredictable and more destructive, and climate change is a major reason behind this shift. Climate change affects flooding in several direct and indirect ways. One of the most important factors is rising global temperatures. Warmer air can hold more moisture. This means when it rains, it often rains more heavily than before. Instead of steady, manageable rainfall, many regions now experience short periods of extremely intense rain. This kind of rainfall overwhelms drainage systems. Cities are especially vulnerable because of concrete surfaces that prevent water from being absorbed into the ground. Instead, water flows rapidly across streets, collecting in low areas and causing flash floods. Another major factor is rising sea levels. As global temperatures increase, ice caps and glaciers melt, adding more water to the oceans. At the same time, warmer water expands, further raising sea levels. Coastal areas become more exposed, and even normal storms can push seawater inland, causing flooding. Storm surges are becoming more dangerous as a result. When strong storms hit coastal regions, the combination of high tides and rising sea levels can lead to massive flooding. Areas that were once considered safe are now at risk. From my perspective, one of the most concerning aspects of climate-related flooding is how quickly it can escalate. A situation that seems manageable can turn into a disaster within a few hours. This leaves very little time for people to prepare or evacuate. Rivers are also behaving differently. Changes in rainfall patterns mean that some regions experience longer dry periods followed by sudden heavy rain. When the ground is dry and hard, it cannot absorb water effectively. This increases runoff and raises the risk of flooding. Deforestation plays a role as well. Trees help absorb water and stabilize soil. When forests are cleared, water flows more freely across the land, increasing the likelihood of floods. In many developing areas, rapid land use changes have made flooding worse. Urbanization adds another layer to the problem. As cities expand, natural landscapes are replaced with roads, buildings, and infrastructure. These surfaces do not absorb water, which increases surface runoff. At the same time, many cities grow faster than their drainage systems can handle. The human impact of floods is severe. Homes are destroyed, infrastructure is damaged, and lives are lost. Even after the water recedes, the effects continue. Contaminated water can spread diseases. Access to clean drinking water becomes limited. Food supplies may be disrupted. Economic losses can be enormous. Repairing damaged infrastructure costs billions. Businesses are forced to close temporarily or permanently. In some cases, entire communities are displaced and may never fully recover. What makes climate-related floods particularly challenging is their unpredictability. Traditional patterns are no longer reliable. Areas that rarely experienced flooding in the past may suddenly face serious risks. This makes planning and preparation more difficult. In my opinion, one of the key issues is that infrastructure in many places was designed based on past conditions, not future realities. Drainage systems, flood defenses, and urban planning strategies may no longer be sufficient under changing climate conditions. There are solutions, but they require both short-term and long-term thinking. Improving early warning systems is critical. Accurate weather forecasting and timely alerts can save lives by giving people more time to prepare. Upgrading infrastructure is also essential. This includes better drainage systems, stronger flood barriers, and more resilient buildings. While these improvements can be expensive, they're often more cost-effective than dealing with repeated disasters. Nature-based solutions can help as well. Restoring wetlands, protecting forests, and preserving natural floodplains allow the environment to absorb excess water. These approaches work with natural systems rather than against them. Coastal areas may require additional protection, such as seawalls or managed retreat strategies. In some cases, relocating communities away from high-risk areas may be necessary, although this is often difficult both economically and emotionally. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is a fundamental part of addressing the root cause. While this doesn't stop flooding immediately, it helps limit long-term climate change and reduces future risks. On an individual level, people can take steps to prepare. Understanding flood risks, having emergency plans, and protecting important belongings can make a difference. However, individual actions alone are not enough to solve a problem of this scale. From my point of view, one of the biggest challenges is the gap between awareness and action. Many people understand that climate change is real and that flooding is increasing, but large-scale changes happen slowly. There are also difficult trade-offs. Economic development, population growth, and environmental protection do not always align easily. Governments must balance these priorities, often under pressure from different groups. Another concern is inequality. Not all communities are equally prepared to handle floods. Wealthier areas may have better infrastructure and resources, while poorer communities face greater risks and slower recovery. Technology offers some promising solutions. Advanced modeling can predict flood patterns more accurately. Smart infrastructure can adapt to changing conditions. However, access to these technologies is not evenly distributed. Despite the challenges, there are examples of progress. Some cities have successfully reduced flood risks through better planning and investment. These cases show that while the problem is complex, it is not impossible to address. Still, the overall trend is clear. Floods are becoming more frequent and more intense in many parts of the world. Climate change is not a distant threat. It is already influencing how and where floods occur. One of the most important things to understand is that flooding is not just about water. It's about systems, environmental, social, and economic, that are all connected. When one part is affected, the impact spreads. Imagine living in a place where heavy rain always brings uncertainty, where every storm raises the question of whether your home will still be safe the next day. For millions of people, this is already a reality. The question is not whether floods will continue to happen. They will. The real question is how prepared we are to deal with them and how much we are willing to change to reduce their impact. Because the cost of inaction is not just financial, it's measured in disrupted lives, lost homes, and communities that may never fully recover. So here's something worth thinking about. If flooding becomes a regular part of life in more and more cities, will we adopt fast enough to live with it? Or will we always be one step behind?